to rock and roll?
Everyone rolling? Yes.
Rolling.
Updates.
Can we start just from the top for what it's worth? As to how are you?
Am I doing?
Well, that sure. Yeah. All right. Fine. How are you?
Yeah,
Happy
I
Thanksgiving.
feel pretty good today. Yesterday I had a red eye. Wasn't feeling good.
You had a nice Thanksgiving. No, as you're pitching yourself. So who's your company and how are you pitching it? Just so we can hear your evolution.
Hi, I'm the founder of TheTalkList. My name's Andres. We have a platform called TheTalkList. There's 2 billion people on the planet trying to learn English, and 99.99% of them don't have anybody to practice with. That's especially important for all those international students trying to get to school here in the United States. So we've created an Uber-like transaction for a person here at NYU to turn on their light and be open for business to any of these people. In our environment, it's a come one, come all site, so you could come in and be a tutor and earn money or learn from anyone around the world. So that's the real unique value prop.
So that sounded good as the same business. So I don't know whether, we've talked about whether you're going to get traction with that business model or not.
Yep.
So maybe we should shift into that, because now we're in a stage where, you're going to be presenting in 3 weeks. So
That's
we
right.
have to triangulate a little bit between what story you give, what the goal is, what we're trying to get to in terms of getting financing, and what combination of story with what experiments you're doing are most likely to get you there.
Yes.
So let's shift a little bit in what you're doing, because you're a very polished speaker. I'm not concerned that whatever you do on stage, it's going to look good, you sound good. I'm more concerned, going back as to, can we get the business model discussions going that are going to get people interested. So let's.
Yeah, so my thought about that, and hadn't really tweaked it in the last slide presentation, is to involve, the main discussions here are talking to 3 universities that I want to have pilot project MOUs signed up and say, hey, we're going to push our international students plus our tutors, which are existing student body, into the program. And
who are this is NYU?
NYU. I just left their admissions office for the 3rd meeting yesterday.
Okay.
And just to give you an update on that, I met with the director named Sean Abbott. He says, this seems very reasonable and it's a gap that we have. Let me have you meet our marketing team. They're the ones that would actually tell people about this and make it happen. So 3 people came into the room, I gave the presentation, and they recognized this could be really useful in their marketing campaign to bring students to the university. So
did you have the difficult conversation? Is it something that you could see paying for?
Yeah, I did say that, and they said, yeah, we could buy credits. How much that is, I don't know. And I said,
and what does it by credits mean? They would just prepay for?
that's right. So the model would be NYU pays for 100,000 credits. That's the education money they have in the bank with the TalkList. Ultimately, there would also be a platform fee that would allow them to have access to all.
How much would they pay for 100,000 credits?
$100,000, yeah, credits
Okay.
a buck. And the platform fee, let's say it's $50,000. So for $250,000, they have this education money and a window to all of the transactions for things that transpire.
Just so I understand, if they buy those credits, what goes to the company versus stays in their account on the platform?
So those 100,000 credits would then be distributed through affiliate codes as they hand them out to career fairs around the world to a prospective Sri Lankan student, and that person now clicks and enrolls and has this money that they paid for, the NYU, to go and talk to an NYU student. They have this conversation that drives tighter social contact to someone at the school about campus life, and
Right.
now I have a better chance of choosing NYU as my international school destination rather
Right,
than
so
Columbia.
does any of that 100,000 go to the talk list?
25% of that.
And when does it go in? When they put the money in or when somebody uses it?
When somebody uses it, that's when the trigger would be
So
in our
if
account.
if they turned around and wrote a $100,000 check tomorrow, you don't get any of it. it's gotta be distributed and people need to use it, and then 25% of it goes to you?
Well, it's cash up front, so it sits in our account. We have that in our account. Accounting-wise, though, it would be kind of on the not able to spend really segment until they actually book the transaction.
Actually, how does that work? Because you're using this blockchain thing, right?
Not yet.
Or you're not?
Not yet.
Oh.
That's the future of the next raise. When we do that, then all of a sudden, what that eliminates is all the third-party fees from PayPal and Visa and everybody else.
So right now, if they give you $100,000, don't you have to like keep it in an escrow account or something like that? Because they could essentially come back and say, great, we want to change our credits back in for cash.
We don't hold it in an escrow account. The terms would be they can't ask for it back. It's for use by users who they probably already handed out these codes all over the
But in general,
place.
if a user comes in and says, buys $10 of credits and then earns 50, they can cash it out. That's the idea. They can convert these credits back into cash.
They could minus a refund fee, kind
Right.
of.
I mean, we're going off track here, but don't you have to keep this money like somewhere? What if someone turns around and says we're ready to cash in and you don't have any cash?
On a B2B purchase, that wouldn't be the case. On an individual purpose, yes, we would give them that minus the refund fee.
Because once you have blockchain, I mean, it doesn't go into your account. It would go to a real bank, right? It would need to be
It
there.
would still be our account, our bank account. That's just managing the transaction of who booked who and who deserves to get paid the credits.
If it's a blockchain transaction, there is no bank involved as the intermediary.
So, but the cash is going into some account. So
Our account, it still goes into our account.
In your account.
That's
right. But theoretically, someone could take then a credit and go to any bank and cash it.
That's right.
So it has to have value.
It still has value, yeah.
That value needs to be basically underwritten by some cash that's sitting somewhere. So that account that you have has to keep a certain level.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's kind of like an escrow account. It's got, you're not allowed to spend that money. It has to be there to basically underwrite the whatever the float is in your ecosystem.
That's right.
I don't think that's part of the story yet, right? So maybe we should.
But if it isn't, I mean, the same thing is true. It's just that
Sure.
it just doesn't have like blockchain to enforce it.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone, okay, so let's jump back from that for the moment, because I'm trying to figure out how you actually get money in the bank, which you can then use to spend for R&D. So even if NYU now said, we love this, we want to try it out, and wrote a check for $200,000, so now it's going into your account, but you can't really use that money. You're saying 25% of it maybe you can take off the top.
Yes, that's correct.
What happens if some of it isn't used?
That's a good question. I was thinking about that, and I would have some sort of terms and conditions that specifies a time frame. If it's not used, it just expires, like
And then you
your
return,
gym membership.
And then you return the funding?
Hopefully
I
not.
would say no. I mean, it's like a gym membership. After some period of time, you distribute it out there. It was
Got it.
part of your marketing
Right.
campaign. Well, it just got folded in.
So in your conversation with NYU admissions, though, they seem to say, yes, if this word works, we could potentially see putting in a couple $100,000 of credit.
Yeah, how much that is, I don't
They
know.
didn't say a couple $100,000.
No,
So you
because
didn't
these were
throw
just the
any
marketing guys, and they weren't going to say how much budget. They did
Here's just
say,
the thing. So running with that gym analogy, if you pardon the pun, if you want to tell them that it's your onus to actually use that $100,000 in credits, then you're telling the gym member, if you didn't use it, you lose, right? What happens with the subscription when it expires, right? So the gym member comes up to sign another year. Whose fault is it that the gym wasn't used? Is it because the gym isn't actually up to par, or is it because the user didn't lack motivation? It'll be pretty easy for that user to blame the gym, right? So while this is probably a problem that we solve down the road as well, what happens when you try to explain to that university the reason that people didn't use it up at the point you expected was because of X, that they didn't actually promote the product enough.
Yeah, that's definitely a good conversation to have. And I think, there's three parties. It's does the student want to use and they'll see that maybe in the first year pilot.
Right.
It's their promotion to enroll students around the campus
Right.
to be live on tutors, because
Right.
they don't necessarily want to hand out this credit and have they come and talk to somebody at Columbia. They want to have somebody talk to
Right.
NYU students. So we've promoted, shown them the idea of promoting all of in the search results, their students right to the top, and maybe exclusively, I'm not sure.
Right.
And that's a decision for them to make. But in the end, some of those credits may not get used, but I've shown a model. If they spend $250,000 and get 200,000 credits and get 4,000 students, each with 50 credits, to start talking to people at their school, that amplifies one of the most significant events in selecting a school is the campus tour.
Mm.
You just talk to parents and said, my kid went to 10 different universities this summer as we walked the tour, and the reason why they selected a campus was this dude was cool and showed them, where the coffee shop is, they hang out in the library, and how they cheer for games. It makes a lot less of an impact when you just show them scores of the school and brochures. They're just trying to identify, would I fit into this place? So we're trying to recreate that and give them more opportunity to do that.
All right, so let's jump from the product back to kind of the
Actually, one more thing about that. So when they invest that 250,000, if they get an increase of 90 students out of their 40,000, that's a 2% increase.
Well, if they get 5 students, it's 250,000 in tuition.
That's right.
Right.
But if it's more than that, and what I thought was a 2% bump, and I've had different people look at that number and say that's reasonable,
Right.
then it's a $10 million increase in income over 4 years of those tuitions of those kids.
Yeah, then you didn't charge enough if that happens.
That's correct. Yeah. So I'm trying to say, hey, here's the ceiling maybe, and here's what we're in carrot.
But your goal now is to get 3 pilots. So you have NYU, and who are the other 2?
Oregon State
Okay.
and University of South Florida.
And
And all 3 of those, I've had multiple discussions, starting from the director on out to their people that deal with the
And again, it's
customers.
all admissions departments?
All the admissions,
Okay, so
yeah.
is this now, have you narrowed in that this is like the most low-hanging fruit niche then, which is admissions departments at universities?
Yes.
Okay, so this is important.
It
So
is.
is that your
So-
3-minute pitch?
Pardon me?
Is that the essence of your 3-minute pitch?
Well, not yet, so I want to get to, because it wasn't part of your 30-second introduction, so.
No.
So that's what I said, I want to triangulate between what your business is becoming, what you want to, how we can get, to do a seed round, and then how you present it. So let's just keep going with this for a moment. So there were some other B2B models that we were looking at, and experiments that you were running. Is there anything else we should know about that's either found traction, or that you have tried and is not going to get traction?
No, we still have these ongoing experiments, and it's B2C, really.
It's all B2C, so there are no other B2B trials going on?
No.
Okay, so then, as far as I'm concerned, this sounds like the most encouraging data point to run with, or would you?
Yeah, and what I've been telling even my own advisement team is I've talked to 4 points of contact in admissions, and I'm 4 for 4 in them leading me to the second, third, and fourth
Right.
conversation. Every one of them sees this as, oh yeah, we're not doing that, and if we're school A that has 10 people we sometimes let people talk to in Skype, and there's school B over there that allows you to talk to any one of 2,000 students enrolled on their campus on this open forum. That's the way people learn these days. I want to know customer satisfaction from people at the school.
Right.
I'll Yelp you, and I don't want to get the brochure. I'll make that selection by talking to students.
And then, sorry, just going back to the discussion we just had, if you have in there that they expire and they cannot get a refund, then that cash is cash. It's not 25%,
correct.
it's 100%.
That's correct.
On a B2B basis. Okay, so that actually is starting to sound better.
And this would be a recurring annual license fee, which is what you know, their budget cycle would be anyway. So every year you should budget $250,000, and here's the
Or they,
income.
if it works, they might decide to make it more
It could be
or
more,
less.
right? Yeah, depending on the size of
either way.
the school and the number of international students they have as a target. And here I just saw a report at NYU. It's one of the top 5 schools for international students
Right,
in the country.
and Oregon State, how did you get to them?
One of our advisors on our team is a guy from Navitas who used to work for N2, and they're both in the international
Okay.
pathway space. So he said, I can't really, conflict of interest to kind of
Yeah.
push you to my own company. I'm going to send you to my buddies who I used to work with. His 2 most trusted admissions directors got on the phone, listened to the pitch, and said, this is very intriguing multiple times. Let's
Okay.
go further.
And then, okay,
Good.
and I was just gonna, and Florida?
And those are the 2, yeah. OSU. And
How'd you get to the Florida?
Same thing. Those
Oh,
are the 2.
same one.
His 2 buddies at.
Gotcha.
Okay,
What about
good, I think, testimonials if you can get them as well.
So I've invited them to New York EdTech Week.
Okay,
I
great.
want them to be here. I want them to
Will they
be.
come?
Will one of them introduce you?
Maybe. I think so. I think, and I've sent the email to them that said, we're at the center of the education innovation universe, as far as I'm concerned. They bought that. And if you guys are in education and want to be seen doing something, you know, leading to the innovation edge, and there's a huge potential here, why not come out here and join me? I want your logo on my slide. I want you in the workshop saying something intelligent about what you think the landscape of international recruitment is and why this fits.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
I'm sold. One other thing about I think the current time. So a lot of admissions directors are getting calls from parents who are just admitted into colleges with concern. So you know, can my child actually be in the U.S. Now that the government has changed, right? Can they find a job? Will it be safe for them, right? One can argue that that might actually impede the number of international students who are in the US over the coming years, so there might be a decrease. However, I think that actually increases the need for your product.
One of my other advisors who's sent me an article related to that same area, and he says, what do you think, Andres? I'm like, if there's less international students, does that shrink our market or does it make it more appealing? Because now the schools are going to be fighting for that narrower target group, and we think it's the latter. You know, if like I heard from one director says, yeah, from China, we don't have to work at it. We have agents over there and they get us 3,000 students if we want 3,000 students. But if the pool shrinks, now they're going to be fighting for that market and among other schools, and so.
Well, let's go back. I want to go back now to the business and the pitch, because again, we started off with a different story. So, if we, let's just walk this through. Let's just say this is now the business. That the business is now. We got the wrong name. We got admissions table over there. But the talk list is now about going after admission schools of admission to use as a tool for recruiting or matriculation or whatever it is, and you've got this thesis in terms of number size. Then someone's going to ask about total addressable market.
That's right.
So, how many admissions offices are there? And again, I know this is this isn't what your usual market is, but you want to be able to say, here's how many admissions offices there are. Right now, it's college. I don't know if this is also applicable for any high school or online or any other forms of admission. I don't know if you've thought about that, but coming up with at least a credible, here is a size, assuming this works for these three, there's a big enough market.
Yeah, so there's 880,000 international students admitted going to school here right now in the United States, 880,000. So I would say.
Because we learned from admissions table there are 300,000 from India.
Yeah, India,
So you think it'd be
China,
more
South
India.
Korea are the 3 top in that, and they all get a quota depending on which country you are. Colombia gets a smaller quota than South Korea. So I haven't totaled. I mean, every school has an admissions program. Every school has multiple people in charge of admissions programs. So there's an admissions director for engineering versus the healthcare, part of the school. Doug Lynch kind of pointed me to that. Says, there's plenty of people to talk to in one school about admissions, and that's why the conversation I had with NYU and admissions was really interesting and positive. And then Dom put me to the dean of School of Professional Studies, which is more graduate focused, and talk to them, and they've scheduled me in to go in and talk to a broader audience because he loved the idea as well. So then another thing that happened out of the NYU admissions, I said, so this is really about feeling good about the selection of the school and having some sort of social belonging in addition to conversational fluency. So can you see that this would work for my son who's a sophomore in high school? His parents will take him around to 6 different campuses and do the tour, but wouldn't it be cool if your admissions group also says, here are some credits on the talk list, talk to some of our students some more and become friends with them? And they said, yeah, totally would.
So,
just international.
Are you feeling like you're ready to make this as a pivot and say that this is the direction to go?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's exciting.
It's very exciting.
So then we need like a new pitch, which describes this.
Yeah, but they just recorded my 30-second pitch about.
As I said to you, it's
30
an
minutes
excellent
ago.
pitch. I just don't know if it has anything to do with the business model, and I'm confident that you can, you're going to be able to deliver a great pitch. Just a question of now making the content match what the business is, and in some ways this sounds more encouraging to the extent that at least you're seeing some early traction. And I will say to you, I don't think we should talk about Titan in a second, but I don't see this as, New York EdTech Week, it's not like people show up with bags of cash, to invest. It's to begin discussions, and my guess is even with this, until you've closed maybe 1 or 2 of these, I don't know that it's going to get somebody to actually write the check. But one way we think about it, 12 to 18 months from now, you need to be at $1 million in recurring revenue to be able to get a venture round. So the question is, how much money do you need to get from here to there? And I don't know if you've thought about that, but let's just say it's a few $100,000. I don't know. Something you.
I haven't thought about the minimum number. I have.
So this is
in our
what
deck.
you
It's
wanna-
$2 million seed raise, and we're asking really everybody that I run into, not necessarily here, but just investor types that happen to engage.
This will be a reasonable question for an investor to ask you,
What's the
which
minimum?
is why? What are you raising and why? Right. So I think the way that you want to get it is, to get the venture. It's going to take us, whatever year is, and maybe you have in your mind where you get to $1 million in revenue. I'm going to throw just that number out. We need $300,000 or $500,000 to get us from here to there, because these are the either product development or sales and marketing efforts or business development efforts that we need to go through to get there. And then even better, you're not going to be there in 3 weeks, but to be able to say, we have these admissions companies, we hope to be at here over the next 3 months, so that if you start some relationships and you come back in a month or 2 months, you can say, yes, we closed this one, we closed this one. So after 1 or 2 are closed, now all of a sudden people who have been following you say, okay, now we're believers.
Yeah, that's a good path, and I think I can get these 3 admissions directors who've been very open to telling me, this is how many students we have, this is how much they pay. It would be worth it to me for $200,000 a year to get another.
I love it.
Let's say it's just $1 million extra in income, not the $10 million. And what I was going to say was, I've already got a slide developed where if I had $1 million today, here are the 4 things I would do. I'd hire my pretty cheap tutor staff just to be in-house and have lights on all the time. On-demand transactions happen 95% of the time. Scheduled transactions happen 5% of the time. Finish our mobile app development, so that automatically is also going to be, I'm walking around with my light on to be a tutor. A business development staff now to
Just going
call
back,
around.
do you need to actually have those completed to be able to make if those 3 said yeah, we'd like to buy, but in order for it to work, you need to, is there a list they're gonna have, you think, that you're gonna have to do development for them to pay the $200,000, or do you think that the product as is potentially can get you there?
There's actually 4 enhancements that are going to take me a few weeks to build out, and I'm already doing that with my staff to handle. Because what I want to show them is that yes, these transactions are going to happen, and guess what? Most of this money is going to go back into your student body. They're earning income talking to people around the world. That's a good thing, right? So we keep the.
Sorry, how does the 100,000? Let's just go with the 100,000. I can make the math. 100,000 comes to you.
75,000 is going to be paid to their own student body as tutors.
Well, okay, so all right, so then it is different.
I'm sorry.
I thought, so you don't get to keep the money. You only get to keep 25% of the money.
Yeah, 25% of every transaction, no matter how it's done. Plus, we'd be asking the school to pay for these enhancements through the form of a platform fee. And I'm just throwing out a number right now in my head, a quarter of whatever the purchase is, so let's say $50,000. The platform fee gives them a dashboard with all the metrics on all of these transactions, so they can say, oh, I see a guy from Ecuador talked to my student 5 times. He is definitely further in the conversion funnel for him being a student at NYU versus us just handing out brochures when we were in Ecuador. We need to get that guy closer.
And you don't think that they would pay just a fee for unlimited usage without necessarily, payments going to the, because again, I'm trying to figure out how you build an actual revenue model here. And again, if out of every 100,000 you're only getting 25, or every dollar you're only getting a quarter, you got to do a lot of transactions.
Yeah, it's true, but fundamentally, it's the collaborative economy model. All of them we make a little bit on multitude of transactions. I could create more of a closed system and say, all right, just give me $10,000.
$200,000.
Well, let's just say it's a high school, because this will happen in high school. High school is going to say, we don't have, first of all, 18,000 or 30,000 students on our campus, but we have 10 people that teach language and so forth, and maybe a few approved students that will allow. Let's let them teach Spanish to all the non-Spanish speakers on our campus. So we'll give you a license for X amount of money, and just to let this small community talk and learn conveniently at home, one-on-one, instead of in this big classroom environment. There's going to be value there. But that's a smaller dollar amount, smaller amount of people. NYU is not going to be able to qualify, or they won't see the bigger scalable, allowing anybody in the world to talk to any NYU student around the clock by clicking a button, unless they do this more open
Unless
model.
the kids are paid.
Yes, and they have to be paid.
Well, maybe is 25% the right number, as opposed to 50%?
Of the platform fee? Oh, yeah.
Of what you, yeah, I'm trying to figure out how we get money to you so that you can live and survive, right? So at if 100,000 comes in, how do we get it so that you can keep more? So is it that maybe whether you call it a platform fee, or why is 25% the right number as opposed to 50% that you take as a transaction fee?
Well, that's why I'm separating it out, because I think you don't want to piss off students to say, man, I did a half an hour work and I got 5 out of the $10, right? TalkList got the other $10, because they just don't like that.
Okay.
So we want to make it reasonable and what's acceptable in a lot of platforms like this. So just add a marginal fee. Amazon's a good case. So that's the 25%. So we make 25% of the $100,000 that they pay. But we also charge the school
So you're going to charge a license fee.
a license fee for giving them access to the dashboard and all the metrics. And so
And does that
what that
exist
is-
now, or you have to build that?
that's what I have enhancement right now, building it.
Okay, and so.
And it's not that hard, actually.
Okay.
Because we've got it all set up with a school account already.
Theoretically, come January, because by the way, sale, it's going to be easier for you to get cash right now from a sale than it is from investment. There's nothing like, and by the way, it's worth more. $1 of revenue is going to be a lot more valuable to you than $1 of investment. And I think you're gonna need to couple them. So theoretically, if now they're talking about 200,000, that 200,000 could be $50,000 platform fee or $100,000 platform fee and 100,000 of credits, of which you end up getting 25. All right, so now it's $125,000, right? So that starts sounding a little more like it gives you some life. So now you do 2 of those or 3 of those, and all of a sudden you've got some momentum, and then my guess is that. So something like that could probably get you to do $500,000 seed round.
And maybe you or Doug or you can tell me, because I don't know, what are these licensing fees that universities pay to people like Blackboard and?
Oh, they're quite significant.
Okay,
And
so
now
that's-
there's also a broad range between whether it's an LMS or an student information system or but they're all over the place. I mean, some of them are multi-million-dollar contracts.
All right, so that's not unreasonable to say, oh, that 250,000 use fee for whatever it is could be 500,000.
This is the thing, you don't know until you test, right? You're gonna have to, this is why you need to have these pilot partners who will actually talk to you about what the real value is and not just try to negotiate with you, but try to give you some guidance as well as to, you know, what it might be worth. And ultimately, you never know until you actually try to get them to pay, and then you know.
So in the back of my mind, Into manages the, they're a contracted service by the university, and they have 24 universities around the US, 24. And I could see them taking an interest from a corporate level, even though they each behave as their own directorship, and one guy doesn't really care what the next guy, he's competing to try to get international students to his thing. But I want to try to float this up to Into to say, you know what, if you invest in us, not only are you helping yourself, we have a potential growth astronomically if we get a B2C method working here. And this could be also a method of an advantage for you that we would exclude a few of the other services from getting into the game. That's something I want to talk to them about.
So, sounds like we need a new 3-minute pitch that goes along with this, and we need to build up total addressable market information. And
then we need to sit down about your investor prospecting process, identifying a list of potential leads, and then how you go about scheduling time with them around New York and Tech Week.
And then what's the status with Titan?
So the junior associate that I had been talking to all of a sudden got a partner job with another similar service.
Was left?
Left. And
Which
it
one?
just,
Who was this?
James Ramey.
James. Okay.
And
That happened within the last 2 weeks?
It happened right after we talked to
Yeah.
Tim Loomer, who was in the office, says, I love this idea. That's the good news, because he talked to me over a bar at GSU ASB. He says, I love the idea then, and the good news is I still love it. So James said, sorry, guy, I'm out. Go talk to Tim. I just talked to Tim this morning, and he said, okay, we are oversubscribed with deals. You know, you're our little tiny deal that we see some seed as some life in. So we can't do the idea of what James had proposed to you is like, he'll work with me and try to get me conversations. He said, but I will say that Chris also likes you. Let's not ask for any equity like we had before, right? He was asking for $200,000 in equity. And I said, he said, why don't we just try to float you out to a few people that were in the seed round range in New York. You're not going to have constant weekly interactions with us. We're going to come out to New York and be in your corner. You can use our logo. We'll be a partner in your advisory committee. We'll look at your deck, although he says, I trust all you guys here are doing a great job in doing that. So in a way, an advisor on our team allowing us to use their name is a great thing. And who knows, maybe along the way, we'll get lucky and get one of the smaller and high net worth people that they know to take an interest in us. So I think it's actually even better. Wasn't all that keen about saying, I'm not sure what you'll do for us yet. So making a deal for some equity sounds kind of heavy commitment.
All right, good. So I'm excited. So you got to pivot. So you got some, you got three warms. Are you going to try to get more than three? Or are you going to leave it at that for these next 3 weeks?
Well, what happened in one of the regional director meetings that the OSU director said, he said, hey, we're entertaining this pilot with this company called TheTalkList. This is what they do. And he talked about us for 5 minutes. And he said, 5 of the schools says, we want to know more about that pilot.
Cool.
So
By the way,
that,
what do you have to do to get the pilot? Like, you have to actually, you would put like, they would, actually, what would you do for the pilot? Would they run some amount of credits through your system?
yeah, so they would have to pay us some money so that we could pay the tutors. So
Right.
it would be a cash transaction.
Like
and we could
$10,000, I mean,
I don't know what it is.
because in
but-
the MOU, they're gonna have to actually sign up to put some credits in there.
Yeah, that's right.
But you haven't talked to them about that yet.
No, that's the next conversation. I mean, I've laid out, I have this really nice document. I'll be happy to forward it to you. It's like, here's the use case. Here's what you have to do. Here's what we will do. Here's what a
Alright.
tutor will do.
But you think you're gonna get that locked before, by December 19th?
Yes.
Okay, so fine. Getting 3 locked is better than getting more warm.
Yeah, that's right. But it could be that, because I want this use case document to be floated out to all the other universities, because
Great.
in a way that he says, we're all kind of competitive, so the other people, knowing we're doing this, they're gonna want to do it too,
Great,
the other schools.
great.
Cool.
All right, so run with it.
Anything
Any
else?
questions?
I did have a question for you. So I had contacted a couple of people at Duolingo, and one of them said, hey, we think our CEO is gonna be attending. Do you guys know Luis Van Aan?
We can check whether they are attending. I'll have to get back to you specifically.
Okay.
But if they are,
Because you wanna meet them, or?
I want to meet them. I want to talk to them ahead of time because, you know, Peter Cohen was saying my wife was learning English, Spanish, and it was effective for her, and a lot of people are doing that, but it still is an asynchronous, just content. I think we're such a good match for them to say.
So
if
we
they
might be
wanna-
able to arrange that separately. We should be able to get you to the CEO of Duolingo,
Yeah.
through the network. Who can help them with that?
Here's one thing
We'll
that
find
Daniel Pianco said. He says, I don't know how they're raising money because they're not earning money, Duolingo. So they have to be looking for ways to earn money beyond some minimal advertising that they have. So if you could compliment them and they click on a button after seeing content, oh, I can actually talk to a person and practice, you know, the language I'm supposed to be learning, that would seem to be a good synergetic relationship. So you should have that conversation.
Okay. We'll try to find a connection.
Okay, I got LinkedIn and a guy was very conversing with me on LinkedIn, but he says
From
I just
Duolingo?
Yeah, Duolingo, but I just do the English testing partnerships, and you're
Oh.
not that.
No, hopefully we should, he's in New York.
I think so.
Luis,
How do we space it?
V-O-N-A-H-N is his last. It's Von on
Louis.
Luis. And if I could talk to him, I've seen his videos and his TED Talks. He's the guy that also invented reCAPTCHA.
Which is?
Anytime that you're trying to check to see if you're a bot or not, trying to do something, you type in the letters about the image, you know, to see to see if you're a real person. He invented that. So he believes in collaborative economies. He likes it when people connect in different ways. He has this one theory of, you know, if I use a collaborative economy model, I could translate the entire World Wide Web with a method, and he can do that in just a couple of years. There's no other way to do that.
Founder Duolingo. Yes, reCAPTCHA. Where does he live?
Oh, well,
It's
his
in New
office,
York, isn't it?
the main headquarters of Duolingo is in Pittsburgh, and next to his LinkedIn profile it says Pittsburgh.
But you heard he's going to be here for New York EdTech Week?
That's what his.
He's not registered, but
That's what his guy, one of his guys said.
If he's here, we should get him on
Yeah.
something.
Are you connected to him?
Me?
Yeah,
How do I know that?
LinkedIn.
If you type in LinkedIn his name, you'll see if he's a first connection.
Based in Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how to spell his name again?
LUIS space VON space AHN.
See, Andy Wiseman knows him. So does Albert Wenger.
Pittsburgh area. This internet thing isn't gonna catch on, it's too slow.
He's still the active CEO, right? Because
Hold on,
he's going by professor at Carnegie Mellon.
You're getting internet?
Yeah. So I think we should ask Andy Wiseman.
And Andy's can't be here, right, for
No.
the festival? Why is this not, boy, my LinkedIn is, you having problems with internet?
No. But yes, we have it on our to-do list to try to get to him for you. I think we should ask
Oh, there
Andy.
we go. So, what it says second.
Yeah, so
That means somebody you know knows him.
that's probably Andy. Rajat Kolal.
Hmm.
You want to ask Richard?
Oh, yeah, now I'm gonna reach out and link to Lewis.
Just get to him straight. Okay.
Well, on his LinkedIn profile, unfortunately, it says, "Hey, I never use this. Connect with me on Twitter or Facebook."
Okay, can do that. You know how to tweet him?
Say that again?
Do you know how to tweet at Louis Van Aan?
Baby steps. This here.
I have his Gmail.
You do?
Yeah.
If you give that to me, I will send him a note in the next 30 minutes because I have something I want to send to him.
It's biglou@gmail.com.
Big Lou.
Yeah.
LOU.
Okay.
biglou@gmail.com.
Yep.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
So are you feeling, how are you feeling? You excited about this?
Oh, totally. Every time I walk in and out of an admissions office, I'm like, I just took another step forward. And I told those guys, I know you're not going to do a pilot project with me in the next 3 weeks before demo day, but it's very critical for me to be able to just say that you guys will sign this MOU and say, hey, yeah, we're going to run 500 students through this.
Right.
You know, and I want your logo up there, and maybe you'll even be there waving,
Yeah.
hey, we're partners with the TalkList somehow. Because it's an oxymoron to say, let's do a deal fast with an academic institution, as you know. So everything's been positive from all levels of everybody I've talked to, and it's just
What's wrong with
tracking
it?
along. Yeah.
Good.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Is that our last one?
Yep. Gotta make a quick call.
Okay. Oh, yes, thank you. Sorry, right.